Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing today? Today, we're going to be talking about Uranus. No, not that one. This one. Oh, nerdy jokes. Don't mind me. Um, there's a very big thing happening with the planet Uranus today. This is actually my favorite planet, which is why my friends got me. Actually, my friend Desi got me this many years ago. It's a model of it. It's very beautiful. It's a very rebellious planet. I'm sure you can imagine why I like it. And I have a book, The Secret Language of Astrology. And I'm looking at my calendar, which tells me that tonight at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Uranus is going to move into the sign of Gemini. And what kind of astrologer would I be if I didn't tell you about this? Because it's a 7-year transit that Uranus makes through each sign. So it's spent the last 7 years in the sign of Taurus, and now it's moving into Gemini for 7 years. There will be a little retrograde motion, of course, but the important thing is it takes 84 years for Uranus to circle its way around. So for many of us, we've never seen this. And for some of us, they're having their Uranus return. All of us know one such person who has been wreaking chaos all across the globe. That's all I have to say. Now, apparently Uranus was discovered in 1781 by William Herschel. I say apparently because I've actually gone to the Herschel Museum and house in Bath in the UK where Uranus was said to be discovered. I secretly, and not so secretly, suspect that it was actually Caroline Herschel who was William Herschel's sister who made the discovery. There is actually a plaque that says her name and says Comet Hunter, which I absolutely love. There are lots of cool telescopes there, and I just think because of the time period when it was, a man had to claim credit because they probably wouldn't be like, oh, a woman found this. Anyway, at the very time that it was said to be discovered, a lot of very dramatic things happened in science, in industry, and technology, also in just revolutionary sort of energy with the French Revolution. It was also around at the time that America was born, or the time period that the time they used to chart the natal chart for the United States. Uranus was also in Gemini. So, if that doesn't tell you anything interesting or give you a little goosebumps, it should. Uranus carries with it the energy of awakening and sudden change and things like inventions. And when it was in Gemini in the 1440s is when like printing came around. In the 1940s, when we got the electronic computer, a lot of people who track, like Uranus transits also note that every time, like every 84 years, the United States is involved in some sort of war. And there is the shadow side to everything. And I do think that one of the things that comes out of war is also the energy that people get tired of war and then they want changes, progressive changes for society. So since I'm a Pollyanna and an optimist, I do tend to look at the creative power that Uranus carries when it moves into a sign, the creative power of the human will, inventions, discoveries, things that, show the capacities, like when the Artemis recently went to space. So think about the last 7 years of your life. Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus. Taurus rules things like the economy, agriculture, stability. And here comes Uranus to be like, is everything as stable as you think? And if you've been alive the last 7 years on this planet, you know that it hasn't been. And so many of us have been forced to contend with like our, you know, what we thought was stability versus what things have actually, what foundations have been snatched from under us to say, is this thing as stable as you think it is? And I think all of us have seen the fluctuations in the stock market, the economy, agriculture, and we're sort of saying to ourselves, some of us have said, the things I thought were stable are not. And so I need to create a new sense of stability for myself. Now, Uranus being in Gemini, which is a sign that does carry or sort of like carry the energies of things like communication, technology, travel, I would say that I do see more progress coming with those areas. Now Pluto is also in Aquarius, so there's a lot of air. There will be a lot of energy of the intellect, for example. And yes, we do see the shadow side of all of these things, and then the progress that we can make as a society. I'm very big on saying on having us think about our own role. You know, like, what are the things we can do to be adaptable and things that we can do to encourage and support humanity's progress. And so I do want people to think about the last 7 years of your life. At least in one area, something has changed, probably very dramatically. In my own case, there are things that I thought that I wanted to do with regards to career and vocation, and a lot of unexpected things happened, and I had to sort of pivot. So I'm also learning that sometimes life will send a very Uranian moment in to redirect you and say, I know you think you want to go down that door, but I do actually think there's a higher calling on your life and a higher purpose, and it may not look to be what you think it looks like. So that is happening today. Venus also moved into Gemini yesterday, so there's a lot of this energy of I'd say it's kind of a flirty energy when Venus is in Gemini as well. So this is just my little astrological tidbit. We are on the cusp of another major moment. And I know everyone's like, every week you say something is changing, or every week something is going on. Listen, this is just the times we're living in. We are actually like, when I say what a time to be alive, because there are things that are happening that we've never seen happen before. And they're really big deal for the collective. And I think it's also exciting to be, someone who is around to kind of like help steer humanity in different directions, right? And I always think about that. What is going to be your contribution to the legacy that you are leaving behind for yourself and for the collective? So something is changing, a lot is changing, and I think this is a very pivotal moment to ask yourself questions of, how do you handle change? How are you adapting? What has changed? What is the lesson behind why something may have changed in your life? Hindsight is 2020. So when you can look back and say, okay, that thing didn't work out because I was probably being led to something else. So pay attention to what has already changed over the last 7 years, what you're looking forward to, what you can be giving energy to. And I know that the world is so much all the time, but if you can carve out any moments to silence your mind, to put your hand over your heart and listen to your own internal wisdom you will really start to see some things in a different light. And one of the reasons why I love astrology is that it helps me to understand cycles, patterns, and also just changes that humanity has gone through over time. And you are needed at this moment, and you do have purpose, so big things are happening, changes are happening. It's not all going to be like peaches and cream, but I do think that some really beautiful things can emerge for society. So, what are you looking forward to for the next 7 years? What is going to be your Uranus story? Thank you. Have a lovely, lovely day. And guess what? I'll probably be back more often because I am leaning more towards being braver about something that I love, which is astrology, and promoting my website, celestialgoodnessastrology.com. So I love sharing all of this with you all, and I just feel an excitement brewing. Maybe you've even felt on the edge of something. And sometimes life is saying to us, what are you willing to take a chance on? If you get to the edge of that cliff, you may learn that you either have wings or a net is going to come out. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Fortune favors the bold. How are you going to be bold in your life, for your communities and for yourself? Thanks. Bye.